I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Civil and religious leaders march for the dignity of immigrants in the Bronx.
We do not favor illegal immigration, but we recognize that people who are here who are without documents need help, and our system needs to be reformed.
Plus, it's more than meets the eye. This revolutionary device could save babies' lives. And Brooklyn's Catholic teens learn what it means to be pro-life.
The heart of what we promote is just the fact that we all have an inherent dignity that has been given to each and every single one of us from the moment of conception.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Is it a promise that President Obama has failed to keep? Well, that's what one local elected official says when it comes to the complicated issue of what to do about undocumented immigrants in this country. State Senator Ruben Diaz of the Bronx says that since Obama took office, there have been more deportations than in any previous presidential administration. Well, the explosion in deportations is something that does not sit well with Diaz, and that is why he and a number of allies held a march for the dignity of immigrants in the Bronx on Sunday. A number of political and religious leaders joined him, including Monsignor Kevin Sullivan, the executive director of Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of New York. He was there on behalf of the Archdiocese and on behalf of the Diocese of Brooklyn. And we were there to hear what he and others had to say.
We are here standing for the march of the dignity of immigrants. We're here as a family. We're standing as a voice. We're sending a message to the United States. We're sending a message to the President and Presidente, and we're telling him he has to fix the problem of immigrants. And we are together. We're united.
New York is an immigrant city because the churches have always welcomed immigrants, and we have an immigration system that is out of date, that's broken.
I'm trying to support unity. I'm trying to support immigration. You know, I feel that there's a lot of injustices being done in immigrants. You know, there's a lot of families that are being broken. You know, fathers are being sent back home. The same thing with the mothers. I think it's a big injustice to be splitting up families in that manner.
Well, I myself am an immigrant. I came here at the age of 5. And this country allotted me wonderful opportunities, and I just want to make sure that the immigrants here get the same opportunity as I did. We are all people. We need to be respected, and I'm here for their rights.
The reality is that there are 11 to 12 million already here, and something has to be done. So it's not whether you support them or not, it's the fact that they are already here, and they continue to come. So therefore, something needs to happen.
I hope to send a message to the Congress and to the President. Hey, comply with the promises that you say. You promise. You promise. You say, you elect me, I will take care of the problem. So you got elected, you have been elected for 3 years. So what's going to happen?
Well, I don't think that's fair to kick anybody out from anywhere because this is a free country, and I think we all have the right to live anywhere we wish as long as we do things correctly.
I think that illegal immigrants should be deported back to their countries, the ones that are not documented. I feel like that's cheating the system. That's cheating the government. That's cheating people. That's cheating taxes. You have to be documented. It should be, signed on paper.
We do not favor illegal immigration, but we recognize that people who are here who are without documents need help, and our system needs to be reformed.
The American dream has become a nightmare for a lot of people. Not necessarily just the undocumented, even the documented. With the current economic crisis that we're facing.
This country was built on people that came from other countries, and that's why America is the great country that it is. And I don't think we need to drive people out. I think that that's what this country is about, bringing people together from all walks of life and from other countries.
Undocumented immigrants are here. They ain't going back. So what are you going to do with them?
Well, stay with us. There's much more currents ahead. Court is in session in Washington. We'll have a look at what's on the docket. That and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, life lessons for a new generation. First, though, let's have a look at the day's headlines. It's being called uncharacteristically non-controversial. It's this year's Red Mass in the nation's capital. Every year, the faithful gather in Washington, D.C. to invoke God for blessings on those responsible for the administration of justice and all public officials. Seattle Archbishop Peter Sarton gave this year's homily. In it, he said, quote, "We are not fully alive, even if we follow a balanced, healthy lifestyle, unless we give ourselves to someone beyond ourselves," end quote. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justices Antonin Scalia, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Anthony Kennedy, all of whom are Catholic, were in attendance. Justice Stephen Breyer, who is Jewish, also attended. And the court got right to work. Today, they decided to let a lower court ruling stand, allowing the nonprofit organization World Vision to hire only Christians to work in its U.S. operations. The case started after World Vision fired 3 employees because they did not agree with the organization's statement of faith. Reporter Athena Jones has more on what else the court will be hearing in its upcoming term.
Monday kicks off a new term for the Supreme Court, and healthcare tops the list of big issues the 9 justices could take on. The Obama administration has asked the nation's highest court to rule on the constitutionality of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, the healthcare overhaul signed into law last year. Lawsuits brought by 28 states and dozens of individuals and groups have challenged the federal government's right to require people to purchase health insurance, the key provision in the law. Analysts say the court will almost certainly address this hot-button issue this term, with a decision coming just months before the presidential election.
The law itself is obviously really important, whether you like it or not. It has tremendous consequences for President Obama's re-election because it's a signature achievement.
The politics of healthcare aside, this is a central issue. This could change the way the government and the people interact, going forward in our country.
Among cases already on the court's docket, whether the Federal Communications Commission's indecency rules violate broadcast networks' free speech rights.
It seems inevitable this term that they're going to have to decide what the free speech rights of broadcasters are to put profanity and some nudity on the air.
Other politically charged issues that could come up include immigration, gay marriage, affirmative action, and abortion.
The Supreme Court term so far is shaping up to be pretty interesting, but it could become absolutely explosive and enthralling. It could be the most interesting one in a century.
That report from Athena Jones. Well, the state of California has cut short any efforts to ban circumcision. Governor Jerry Brown signing a bill that will prevent local governments from banning the practice. San Francisco had been attempting to get the measure on the November ballot. Advocates had argued that the procedure is unnecessary and could lead to sexual and health problems later in life. Opponents of the measure, though, say circumcision is an important religious practice and that it can reduce the risk of cancer and sexually transmitted diseases. The Archbishop of San Francisco was among those who had spoken out against the bill. Well, meanwhile, in Illinois, that state's Catholic bishops have started a new initiative to defend traditional marriage by creating a Defense of Marriage department within the state's Catholic Conference. Just this year, a new law went into effect giving Illinois couples in civil unions most of the same rights as married couples. The state also canceled contracts with Catholic charities because of the organization's refusal to place children with unmarried couples. Well, an update now from Iran on the Protestant pastor sentenced to die. State-run media is reporting the pastor will not be executed for leaving Islam, but rather for rape. A government minister also claims the pastor is guilty of, quote, security-related crimes. According to the American Center for Law and Justice, which has been closely monitoring this case, the new charges may just be an excuse to justify executing the pastor. The Catholic Church in Mexico is speaking out against a bill that would require couples to sign a prenuptial agreement and estimate how long they will be married. Sponsors say the bill aims to cut down on lengthy divorce proceedings. A spokesman for the Archdiocese of Mexico City says that asking couples to specify how long their marriages will last is totally absurd. He says the bill was sponsored by, quote, people who do not understand the nature of marriage. Meanwhile, singer Ricky Martin may be persona non grata in Honduras as far as some religious leaders are concerned. According to a Honduran newspaper, a government official says a coalition of religious leaders, including Catholics, have asked that Martin be denied a travel visa to Honduras because of his non-traditional family, they say. Martin came out of the closet last year and lives with his male partner and 2 children. Government sources say, though, that they have not received a written petition to deny Martin entry into Honduras. Well, back here in this country, America Press, which publishes the Jesuit magazine America, now has a new head. Father John Schlegel, the former president of Creighton University, has been appointed the publisher and president of America. Schlegel had been president of Creighton from 2000 until July of this year. And the new head of the Maronite Catholic Church is coming to the United States, and Brooklyn is on his agenda. Maronite Patriarch Bakara Rai will visit the U.S. for most of October. He'll visit a number of cities, including St. Louis, Chicago, Los Angeles, Cleveland, and yes, Brooklyn. He's also scheduled to meet with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Well, stay with us. There's more Currents coming up. Coming up, from tragedy to hope, the heartwarming story of how a new invention could save babies' lives. Welcome back. Well, the chair of the U.S. Bishops' Committee on Pro-Life Activities issued a strong statement for October. Now, October, we should say, is Respect Life Month for Catholics. And the Cardinal is urging the faithful to pray and reflect on how best to witness to the true nature of the human person. The Cardinal I'm speaking of course, is Cardinal Daniel DiNardo. He said that the unborn child is among those at risk of being dismissed as, quote, life unworthy of life. Well, in some countries, though, being born is no guarantee of survival. But a new effort here in the U.S. could play a big part in changing that dismal fact. CNN's Sarah Cinder has more.
Every day, Sajata laments losing all 3 of her babies. She was shunned from her South Indian village because she was considered useless for being unable to bear a healthy child. One of her babies was born alive but premature and tiny. The hospital was too far for them to travel for help. My husband tried to keep our child warm. He put our baby in a box with a light bulb to give it some warmth. But the baby died, she said. It is not an unusual practice in poor villages, and sometimes rural hospitals don't have much better.
In these preterm and low birth weight babies, the potential and the greatest killer is hypothermia. That is temperature.
They get too cold.
Yeah, they get too cold.
In this South Indian state, more than 3 in 10 babies are born premature or with dangerously low birth weight. And since keeping these tiny bodies warm is vital to their survival, doctors say there is an urgent need for a portable, inexpensive, easy-to-use device. And they have found one, conceived in a class at Stanford University.
So the challenge posed to us at that time was make a baby incubator that costs less than 1% of the cost of a traditional incubator, which in the US is about $20,000.
This is what they came up with, the Embrace Baby Warmer. A wax-like substance and water insert is heated on a small machine and put into a wrap. The pouch stays at a constant temperature for up to 6 hours. Have you seen this gadget save a baby's life?
Yes.
While experts say it can't replace a modern incubator, neonatal specialist Dr. Asha Benakaba is thrilled with it. It costs $200. The traditional warming machine costs $2,000. For this mom, it's priceless. Her minutes-old baby girl is in her arms instead of in a bulky machine. Doctors say the device does have limitations. It requires electricity. In villages, electricity is often unavailable for hours a day. The Embrace team is aware and already working on a device that does not require electricity. But even now, this small innovation has the potential to make a big impact.
Hopefully it can make an even bigger impact in the years to come and hopefully save a lot of babies' lives. That report, of course, there from CNN's Sarah Cinder. Well, stay with us. There's much more Currents ahead. When we return, teens in the Brooklyn Diocese get a life lesson courtesy of Generation Life.
and we're dedicated to building a culture of life by spreading the pro-life and chastity messages.
Well, finally, tonight, one of the main goals of Respect Life Month here in the U.S. is to bring an end to abortion. The month also happens to coincide with another popular pro-life effort, that being the 40 Days for Life campaign. That's a worldwide movement that includes daily prayer vigils outside of abortion clinics as part of it all. But not all of the efforts to combat abortion involve prayer on city sidewalks and streets. There is the Generation Life approach. Generation Life tackles life issues by talking to Generation X, encouraging teens to wait until he or she puts a ring on it.
We're here today at Christ the King Regional High School with a pro-life and chastity group called Generation Life, and they give talks all around the country on the topics of chastity and pro-life. Generation Life has been in Cathedral Prep Seminary, and they were recommended to me, and I went on their website, checked them out, spoke to some of the people. They sound like great people, and they've been giving dynamic talks in the Archdiocese prior to coming here. So it's been a pleasure to see them and work with them.
Generation Life is a movement of young people, and we're dedicated to building a culture of life by spreading the pro-life and chastity messages, because we see that because our culture is in a somewhat state of crisis, and because there's a larger amount of abortions every day, almost 3,500, that we seek to end abortion at its root cause, which is a deeper understanding and appreciation for sexuality through the chastity message.
The heart of what we promote is just the fact that we all have an inherent dignity that has been given to each and every single one of us from the moment of conception. And we all have that God-given dignity in our bodies and in our sexuality. And living out our sexuality properly will lead us to a life of freedom and authentic love. We know at Generation Life we are fighting a battle. We're fighting against what the media is telling us, what the media is telling us about our bodies and our sexuality.
Teenagers have a lot of pressure to, you have to be skinny, you have to have the perfect nose, your hair always has to look like you just stepped out of a magazine.
So it's extremely important for us when we talk to the students to expose the lies, that our bodies are never good enough, that our bodies are objects, that we're just a body. All lies.
I thought that their message rang true for me, just like they said, you hear all these TV shows and movies and music, they're selling sex to children. Generation Life kind of shows us that there's another way, you don't have to do that.
We hand out commitment cards to the students at the end of our talk, and the commitment cards are a wonderful way to challenge the students to make a commitment for chastity. It's in black and white, literally, so on the front it says "True love waits," and then on the back it's like a statement of commitment. I hereby choose today that I will live a life of chastity for myself, for my future spouse, for my future children. And it's just an encouraging way to leave the students hold yourself to this, hold yourself accountable, keep this. Save this, give this to someone one day, give this to the person that you want to be with forever.
I actually have it in my pocket. I'm going to sign it once I get home because I think that it's something that I would really want to live by every day.
What we possess that I love and that keeps me a part of it is everything is centered around love, and it's the love of God.
I'm so thankful to have the gift of this knowledge about chastity, and they are longing for that message.
This message shows that teenagers, what they have, their sexuality is a gift, and that's something that they should treasure. And they don't have to feel like they won't be loved if they can't give sex to someone.
We'll talk about going against the tide there. They bring up a good point where, the media and just life in general, the culture, especially here in this country, is just so saturated with messages of not only a sexual nature in and of itself, but something, where girls have to think that they have to look a certain way when they reach a certain age, and that they always have to be perfect looking and all of that. And they're actually going out there and telling the girls and the guys and everybody that's not true, and you can think more of yourself than just what the media kind of puts out there. It's a very strong message and an encouraging one, but one that they do, as they acknowledge in that piece, they've kind of got an uphill battle ahead of them because of, like I said, they're going against the tide. Well, that is it for this particular edition of Currents. Now, coming up on tomorrow's show, no, it's not a real-life nativity scene, but it is the annual blessing of the animals at One Queens Church. We'll take you to it. Until then, though, be sure and visit us online over at currentsny.net. And we're also on Facebook and Twitter, so look us up there. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.